Thank you for watching this clip of Not My Bag.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
And if you're listening, give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
So hopefully when I'm passing a message on, they know. But a lot of the time, we get so many emails after shows saying, oh, Sally said this to me and I was like a rabbit in headlights.
Yeah.
And it's only when they go home.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because when you've got everyone surrounding you, so it's not too personal, but I know what you mean. You've got to give that message and connect to people very quickly, don't you?
Yeah. Have you heard from Ricky yet?
No, I haven't actually. What else did I want to ask you? I've got so many questions.
Just ask away.
Has there ever been any disturbing things during a reading that you've found out and you're the person that has to carry that message? So I'm talking like murder or anything like that.
All the time. All the time. I'll give you an example of one.
Jesus Christ.
Every single show there's something like that. But one in particular, which I will always stay with me. I mean, there's someone over there that can shout if they remember which show it was. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. But basically, and it was just, I didn't realise, because I don't know the timings, the lights go out when it's end of part one.
Sure, okay.
Because it's an hour, 20-minute break, and then like 55 minutes or something. And it was just coming up to the end of the first half, but I wasn't aware of that. And basically, I got this guy that had been murdered. And he said the person's name in the audience, who was a woman, and he was saying, then it was the man that had been murdered, and he said her name, and she put her hand up, and then I was about to go to her, she was in a dark spot in the theatre. Another man came through who had died, and he said, I'm so sorry I did that, and said his name, and her hand went down. So I said, I want to come to you. Do you not want it? And if someone doesn't want to take the message, you can't fall. So this second man in spirit that had come through was going, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. And the man that had been murdered was really like swearing, and I didn't swear because you have to be careful, don't you? And I just said, and then the lights go down. So I said, we might come back to that, but the lady, she, thank you, darling. I know you don't want to put your hand up. Go off, come back on. Like, can I have the house lights up, which is what I say, so I can see the audience. And bang, she stands up, she screams, Sally, I need to talk to you. So she'd had that 20-minute to think about it.
Sit on it and stuff, yeah.
So basically what had happened is I got her husband who had been murdered, and then I got the murderer, the guy that had murdered him, who went to prison and was murdered in prison.
Oh my God.
So I've got her husband who was saying, like, basically, excuse my language, what the fuck, I've been murdered. Yeah. And then I had the murderer come through.
So sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. It should never have happened.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
So there's this poor woman accepting a message from 2 men in spirit that one had killed the other one.
Wow.
That is a closure. Fucking hell.
And he had been murdered so both of them had been murdered, one by the murderer who was standing there in my head on stage, energy, spirit, and he'd been murdered by someone in prison.
Do you ever have people like have to then take themselves out of the show? Because if someone told me that'd be a lot. I'd have to be like,
I'd go home and think my life's pretty much all right at the minute if I had to do a reading like that.
I did one, and it was I remember the theatre, it was in Catford, so she may be listening to your podcast, boys. She was absolutely gorgeous, and I was giving a message, and she stood up, and she was with 6 other members of her family, 6 other women. They all stood up, Catford, London gig, packed out, rammed. I mean, there was about 1,800 people in the theatre. Couldn't get another person in. And she stood up, and they were all it was a family message. And then all of a sudden, this young guy came through, dead, obviously, came through into my head, said his name, and she did this. This is what she did. She was standing there, and she went, and I went, and like all her family gathered around her, and she started having what I thought was a seizure, but she'd got a pacemaker. And she was so shocked, her heart had stopped.
Oh my
God. Her pacemaker
God.
her heart, honestly. She lives in Catford, and literally 1,800 people went. And as she's shocked and she's fainting, her pacemaker is going, and she's going.
Oh God.
So anyway, I had to go off stage. When you're doing a one woman show, one person show, whoever does them will tell you. If there's an incident in the audience, health and safety, the talent has to go off the stage.
Right, okay.
So I had to lead the stage. So I'm watching from side. And they brought down people and they took her out. And this is so funny when you think about this. What happened was her family, the message was just so incredible, the original message. Before I said, they had an argument in the foyer who was going to go to hospital with her because no one wanted to leave. So there's this poor girl whose pacemaker had kicked off. Exactly, had kicked off, and they had like this big argument. And
I mean, you say this. I went to see Adele, and an old lady, fainted in front of me, and none of the family wanted to go with her because Adele was on stage.
So basically, I get a message from front of house, from the guys that do my, all the mixing and that, the sound, the levels, that what had happened, and I went, oh my God. So, we got all her details, and I sent her beautiful flowers, lovely message. We gave her tickets for another show, but basically, they came back in. That whole audience gives them a round of applause, and I went on and I just said, so sad. This young girl, I didn't mention her pacemaker. I said she had a little seizure because it was a shock, and it can shock some people because you don't say, like you say, she died about 3 times in front of me and been brought back to
in front of
life.
1,800 people.
And they were there. They wanted to watch. But I mean, you could look at that. What a compliment. They want to see. But it was a bit like, oh my God, that was your granddaughter, your daughter.
Your sister or something.
That is crazy. That is absolutely. I don't know. I think I would have panicked so much. I probably would have ran off the stage and been like, oh my God, what have I done?
Well, you have to sort of like, you do, but I must be in.
You're in like show mode, I guess, aren't you?
You are
as well?
in show mode.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say 101% every show is different because no 2 readings are ever the same. But there has to be some sort of craft. You have to, when you're on stage, because I have to keep everybody on the edge of their seat. Unfortunately, I've been to see mediums, and within 5 minutes, I've thought, I've got to get out of here. This is so boring. With all due respect, I want to find a medium that's like me. So when I did my tour, it was like everybody all the time has to be on the edge of their seat.
Yeah, of course. That's how you sell the tickets.
Well, hopefully they are,
Well, I feel like as you've made a really good, successful career out of it, you must be doing something, right?
Well, I think that the only thing that people want from a medium, it's a shame really, but it's accuracy.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
If you can go bang, 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 which you can't always do there and then, but as we were just talking about, people go away, they come back and they go, oh my God, you said that and I didn't, you said my granddad or whatever was Fred, and I didn't know Fred existed, and my mum said, and it was Fred. So there will always...
It does take a bit of like piecing together sometimes.
Of course it does.